Dr. Ricketts, can you help me make it through?
All right, Doc on JOX, welcome back. How you doing, man?
How are y'all doing today?
Doing fantastic.
Wonderful.
If I asked you this time of year, the holidays right around the corner, energy level and fatigue at a high point in our country or at a low point, or does it matter times of year?
I tell you, it is a high point for that, but nothing about the holidays. It's the time change.
Which happens this weekend.
Which happens this weekend. We're going to get an extra hour of sleep, but we're getting less and less daylight every day. And with that change in their circadian rhythms, when that light hits the back of your eyes and goes back and does all of its electrical work in your brain so you can tell what something is, it also runs through a part of the brain where you control your hormones or other brain chemistries that do energy, depression, and those sorts of things. And people tend to get more depressed this time of the year. And we're probably really going to see it kick into high gear about 4 weeks from this weekend. Right around Thanksgiving, you'll see a lot of it. It's crazy. A lot of suicide attempts. Not as many successful ones, but there are a lot that happen now. And the same thing happens in the spring when we add that extra hour on it to the day. And you can just set your clock by that. And along with all the stress and everything that goes on, you're going to have a lot more first-time heart disease, heart attacks, and those sorts of things really in this next 60-day span of time than you do any other time of the year.
Let's talk about metabolism today, because I was just telling the wife, I think it was yesterday morning, in fact, that it doesn't seem like I can get everything revved up and going in the right direction the last few weeks. It's middle of football season for me. I work a lot, and I just can't seem to find that energy. What can I do?
Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a little quiz. We're going to talk about things that affect metabolic rate in individuals.
All right.
And these are really good. I think this is the best way to teach this rather than to listen to me drone on for hours.
Do I need to keep score as always?
No. This is a freebie one here. I still got to figure out how you picked out Memphis over Cincinnati, but I'll ask you about that later.
That was Lance.
Yeah. Is more or less muscle better for your metabolic rate?
More.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, working out, building those muscles up is really huge because those fibers are always moving back and forth. The more muscle that you have, well, for them to move, they burn calories through this little thing inside every cell called if you've done it with your kids at school, it's called the mitochondria. It's always the orange organelle on everything, that every picture you have in a middle schooler or a high schooler that does that. But that's where you take all the sugar comes into your body and is burned into calories to burn energy. So the more muscle you have, the better you're going to be there. Kind of going into that, which can boost your metabolic rate? A high-protein diet, a high-fat diet, a high complex carbohydrate diet, all the above, none of the above.
I would say none of the above.
I'm going to say high protein.
And you're absolutely correct, Jimmy. You were at the Holiday Inn last night, baby. It has clearly been shown out. Ryan, at one time, we didn't think the type of diet, as long as you kept the calories down, that one of those diets had any better use than the other one. But we really know now the high-protein diets, the breaking down of the amino acids in the proteins and all make a big difference. All right, who has the higher metabolic rate, men or women?
Well, that would be men.
I'm going to say women.
Well, it's actually men, but the reason why is it's nothing magical. It's just because of the change of the body makeup of men and women.
Jim thinks like a female. That's why he said that.
Well, he teaches us, it's just like the little boy on the dish commercials. He looks up romantic comedies, gets his things, and he's ready to roll. All right, who can tell me what metabolism is?
Well, it's the rate at which you burn calories.
Energy.
Well, and you're both right. Actually, wow, hit this microphone.
That's quite all
Oh,
right.
God. All right, it's the process which your body uses to convert calories into energy. And calories, that's when we talk about sugar content and the amount of sugar in anything. That's how that all is regulated.
Can you always respike your metabolism, though? Like, there's and I don't know if it's a myth or not, but, people turn 30, 35, whatever your age is, metabolism goes off, doesn't come back. But it seems like you start working out, you start dieting, you're doing the right things, you can actually spike it back up.
You're already doing all the right things, and you're absolutely right. Most of us, but a lot of it is you get busy, you start having children, and all that time you used to have to work out and do those sorts of things goes away. But 30 is a big mark, 40 is a big mark, 50 to 55 is a big change in metabolism. And I'll tell you, I'll be 53 tomorrow, and it is much harder for me to lose. That's why it took me so long to lose all the weight I did. And I really had to push with the running and everything to actually get my metabolic rate off.
But what you're saying to LT there is if you have laid around on the couch for a while, you can crank it back
You
up
can
by
get it
getting up
back.
and moving. Yeah.
You can get her back
Easier
up.
to maintain than to actually lose.
I remember Bill Cosby talking to Theo on the Cosby Show. You know, it takes more energy for that plane to go up and go down than to get the plane up and keep it up flying high. Which of the following can influence your metabolic rate? Your lifestyle, genetics, age, none of the above, all the above.
All
of
the
the
above.
above.
You bet. Listen, you can regulate that. And as you do get older, like I said, there's those certain times in there, 30, 40, 50, where metabolic rate goes down. You can look at family. If you got a big family, and people talk about folks being big boned, but there are some families where obesity is a genetic thing.
Right.
And so you want to look at that, and certainly your lifestyle. And that's something we harp on that so much with diet and exercise because that is something you can control. What organ in your body regulates your metabolism?
I would say your heart, lungs.
You just get one guess.
I'm going to say
You're wrong on both.
I'm going to say blood flow, your blood vessels.
That's not an organ.
It's not?
No.
The vessel system's not an organ?
No, it's not an organ. I'm going to say I'm just going to go way off and say it's your bladder.
It's your thyroid.
I was close.
And your thyroid's that
The
little
right system.
butterfly organ. And that's why we always, when somebody comes in, they're overweight, always check thyroid level, make certain that your thyroid's going low, not going low. It's real common in girls in their 30s, guys in their 40s, and that's something that could be totally fixed and be great.
So I don't want to go back to 5th grade biology here, but our vessel system is not considered an organ at all?
Well, it's part of the vascular system.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
yes, it is. I was just going to let you guys trip on that one, but it is part of the vascular system. Yes, it is.
Done away.
All right. Strength training can change your metabolic rate.
Well, I'm good. Since the muscles
Yes.
had an effect, I'm going to say yes.
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 Absolutely. And if you build that muscle mass, that's usually when we get people start working out. We want you to build up muscle mass first before we get into a lot of the aerobic type stuff. If you build up that muscle mass, it really helps to burn those calories once you kick the aerobic part in.
So not just cardio,
Yeah,
which
not-
is good for you, and you want to do that, but you want to also have some muscle mass.
You got to do those sit-ups and push-ups, a few bench presses. If you can do chin-ups, but you got to do that. And of course, we've already said this. As you age, your metabolic rate slows down. We've answered that. Eating less than 1,200 calories a day makes your metabolic rate slow down. True or false?
I'm going to say false.
No, I'm going to say that is true. You shouldn't do that. You actually want to eat a certain target weight, but more calories than that, but it's got to be good calories,
And you're
protein.
Absolutely right, because what your body does, when you go below that 1,200 calories a day,
Shuts down.
your body will actually deregulate your metabolism. So anything you eat above that is going to immediately turn into fat.
That's no good.
Ideal is about 1,800 to 2,000 calories a day to lose weight. You wouldn't think that's a good weight loss, and you should never really go below 1,500 because that's when you
Wow.
run into all
So, I
this.
mean, because I've done that before, but that's with exercise, right? 1,800 to 2,000 with exercise.
With exercise,
Yeah.
absolutely. You got to get up and get going. Put that treadmill in there in the TV room.
Well, that's encouraging news. I have more calories now.
Yes, you do. You're going to gain the weight after that lovely wife of yours has that baby, so we're going to work on all that. Caffeine can boost your metabolic rate. True or false?
Caffeine cannot.
I think it slows it down.
Yeah, I think it slows it down too.
Absolutely incorrect, gentlemen. Caffeine has clearly been shown to increase one's metabolic rate.
So we should drink caffeine.
You should drink caffeine.
But you suggest like a cup of coffee, not necessarily a diet soda or something
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Although I prefer the
Spicy
diet
foods
soda.
can increase your metabolic rate.
I'm gonna say
True or
I've
false?
heard yes. I've
Yeah.
heard
What can-
jalapenos can
Oh,
do it.
jalapenos,
Yeah,
yes.
spicy food.
foods,
Yeah.
yes.
You are all incorrect again.
Oh,
no,
bull,
no,
Doc.
no, you're
but
incorrect,
that,
Doc.
but
Come
that,
on.
but that was a
Go
popular
to India
health-
and see if there are fat people there.
Well, they also don't have a lot to eat.
No,
too.
that's a good point.
And
That's an
they
excellent
ride
point.
bicycles and walk.
Yes.
And they do all the things they have to do.
And they have to live 24 in each apartment.
Yes.
That's right.
My
So,
bad.
Wow.
Metabolic rate can be affected by the climate.
10 billion people.
I'm going to say yes, it can be affected by the climate.
Any other guesses?
I would say,
I'd say yes.
because I think, depending if you're real cold, you'd burn more energy, right?
Yeah, but I'm not going to get out and work out in Antarctica either, so I think that impacts you in a different way.
No, but if you measure metabolic rate in folks that live from around Chicago up, and I forget what parallel that is, their metabolic rates are actually higher. If you go to Wisconsin,
Really?
you will not see the obesity rates. Even though these people are eating cheese and drinking beer and stuff, you do not see the
You
obesity
shake it off,
rates.
right?
They absolutely right. They
Shake it off.
Because your body's trying to keep itself warm. The shivering will actually make your metabolic rate go up. All right, and then the last question on our little quiz today: most calories that your body uses are burned during physical exertion.
Yes.
For some reason, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
It happens when you're asleep.
It sounds like a trick question. I'll go with Dunaway no.
You guys are right. It's actually what we actually measure is your base of metabolic rate, and that's how you burn calories when you are asleep or at rest. that's where most over 70% of your calories are burned. Physical exertion counts for about 30. But you can work on that 30% and boost it up a little bit. But most of it's going to be burned while you're at rest.
So instead of getting up and running 6 miles, just sleep another hour?
Sleep all day.
No, just sleep and then get up and run that time in the morning.
Do both.
I'm just getting you ready, little brother, because in 10 more years, it's going to even be bigger in importance.
TJ in Huntsville with the Doc on Jocks. We'll take phone calls until the bottom of the hour, 741-9450. TJ, how you doing, man? Welcome in.
I'm doing all right. I've got a question about my grandfather.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
He's 78 years old, and he's one of the most, for most of my life, he's been probably one of the most healthy individuals I've ever been around. And he was the guy that, at 77 years old, he could work circles around me, and I'm 21.
Right.
But he's starting to, run into a few health issues, which, is expected, I'm assuming, at his age. But one of the things he's done is he has been chewing and or dipping, using tobacco since he was about 12 or 13.
Right.
And he's decided to come off of it. Just from what I've seen, it seems like that's hurting him more than anything. And I try to tell him, you've been doing it 65 years. If it was going to hurt you, it would have done hurt you. I wondered if it wouldn't be better for him to just keep doing it, and I'll hang up and listen to you.
Well, listen, I think that's a great question. And, you will see individuals that go like their late 70s or early 80s that have never had major medical problems. And, it's like the guy eating the fatback and white bread sandwiches every day. He's losing that stimulation that you get from tobacco products by doing that. I would have to agree. Now, I'm not going to advocate the use of tobacco, but if it hasn't hurt him up to that point and he hasn't had any major medical problems, I'm not going to stop it at 78 for this guy. I'd tell him to keep doing what he's doing. If he hadn't had any oral cancer, he hasn't had any other vascular problems, stick with it.
But the reason his health is different probably is because, one, he's not getting the boost
Yes.
that tobacco provides, and the other, he's kicking an addiction that has been with him 60-something years, right?
No, you're absolutely right. And you could have silent coronary disease and other things we don't know about yet, and fatigue could be your first symptom.
Yeah.
So that stuff has to be checked out. But for every one person you have like that, I can give you about 30, 40 more that are the exact opposite.
All right, 12:14, the Doc on Jocks. Before we go to break here, more phone calls coming up at 741-9450. Questions on Twitter as well. Let's go ahead and get the Scholar Athlete of the Weekend as well as we do it right here. Brought to you, the Doc on Jocks, every week to sort of spotlight the student and athlete who's getting it done in the classroom.
Well, I happen to know this young lady. Her name is Alice Bradford. She is a student at the Altamont School. She plays cross country and tennis. She has a 4.5 GPA and scored a 2,270 on the SAT, which is really good. National Honor Society, Avondale Tutoring Program, French Club. She's won about any award you can imagine in cross country running as well as in tennis. She played tennis with my daughter Polly. In college, she plans to study English, history, and French. And if given the opportunity to run cross country or play tennis in college, she competitively wants to do it recreationally and not continue that part of her life. She loves the Dixie Chicks and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and this young lady gets it done in the classroom and on the field every day.
We appreciate the Doc on Jocks spotlighting certain athletes. You can check it out online, AL.com, Birmingham News. When we come back, Doc on Jocks with more of your questions at 741-9450. If you'd like to make him your primary care physician, you can do that very easily with one phone call.
Yeah, make the call today, 822-0233. And remember, you can drop by that beautiful facility that they just opened at the Vestavia City Center. He's got the 2013 medical guides. Pick one of those up free, 822-0233.
Just talked to a guy the other day on Monday who listens to us in Tuscaloosa, drives to the Vestavia City Center because he was looking for a doctor, and says after doing that, my other two doctors missed it. Said Doc Ricketts had it diagnosed in 45 seconds. That's what it was. And I will drive from Tuscaloosa to see him every time.
Well, I'm glad we did something positive that time.
1 hour drive, one way, and he's still doing it. 16 after, Jocks Roundtable. In Alabaster, we'll knock out some calls for the Doc on Jocks here. Steven, how you doing?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Doing great, man. Thanks.
Hey, I just kind of jumped in, and I don't know if I'm on subject or not, but I heard a guy talking about smoke, and I had a situation arise with a family member earlier this week, and my question is about third-hand smoke. If someone smokes in their car constantly, they ash in their car,
Sure.
all that good stuff, is there any proof that's harmful to, let's say, my kids hopping in the car.
Yeah. So you're not breathing in any smoke. You're getting into a car that has the aftermath of a smoker in it all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not ever scientifically proven at that level. You know, there is scientific data to back up secondhand smoking. I think you're going to see it in our generation when smoking was still so prevalent. I didn't know what it was not to have a cloud in the roof of my house until I was probably 16 or 17 years of age. I think you're going to see that, but just the remnants in the car and everything, I think your risk is probably going to be fairly minimal there rather than just directly absorbing it and smoking it from the person who is smoking.
So that odor you get in the car, though it's disgusting and it smells horrible, no scientific proof yet it causes any health issues.
None whatsoever. And you can see how far we came. The Exorcist, 1974. You see the scene at the hospital. All you see on the table are ashtrays.
Right.
I still remember the first AMA meeting I went to in 1985. We had ashtrays all over the conference room. I mean, it's amazing how far we have come.
Absolutely.
In any film from the 70s and 80s, when you see an airplane, everybody's smoking on the plane.
Everybody smoked on the planes, man.
Stephen, that answer your question? I guess so. Hey, but I did yesterday on 280. Saw a mom with a kid in the car. She's got the window cracked and cigarette out the window. But there is no way you should ever do that, right? Even with ventilation.
No, you should never do that.
I almost told her, but she pulled past me.
Yeah, they should never be doing that.
Is it okay if I tell people that?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
sure.
It's for the kid, man.
At the red light, stop them and say, hey,
come on
put
now.
the cigarette out.
It depends how brave you feel on 280 at that time of the day, my friend.
Let's put it this way. I got a little mouthy when I went to a local store on Sunday to pick up extra candy in full Halloween costume. Somebody said something smart to me, and I mouthed back to them. My wife said, you're going to get shot one day.
Well, Maggie's probably right, but I know how you feel, Jim.
Sky in Birmingham is next. Hey, Sky, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
I wasn't dressed like a fairy, by the way.
My question for the doc is, I'm a 45-year-old male with low testosterone levels,
Yes, sir.
and I take testosterone shots 3 times a week. And I was wanting to know if there's anything else that I can add to those shots to boost, because I don't feel that is enough. And I'll hang up and listen to you.
Sure. Well, here's what you need to do. Your doctor needs to be checking your levels and make certain that our levels are actually correct at a therapeutic level for you. There's nothing you can add to it. Don't listen to these people about using estrogens and stuff with that. That's not good for your body. And certainly not using growth hormone either. So get your levels checked. Let's see where they are, if it's not being effective, and we'll go from there. Hey, real quick, guys, I got a call from our publicity person from the University of Alabama. They said, text BABH to 27722. Beat Auburn, beat hunger, and our Auburn website is
beatbama.beathunger.com if you want to go to that one.
Yeah. Remember, 100% of the proceeds go to feeding the hungry in the state of Alabama. Remember, it's BABH 27722.
Yep, that helps out. A $5 donation if you do that. On Twitter, twitching while you sleep. We got that question. We were talking about it in the break. Is that a bad thing that if you're twitching while you sleep? Is there something that causes that? Is it some reason to go to the doctor? What's the deal with twitching in your sleep?
Well, you really should go to the doctor on this one. This is actually probably a version of something called Restless Leg Syndrome, but your whole body can actually jerk, not just your legs, and you'll twitch and that sort of thing at night. That is extremely easy to treat with medication, and the medications for that are very inexpensive to treat it with and get you back to having a full night's sleep. Because what you end up doing, you do that before you go into your dream state. You're doing it during the restorative part of your sleep, so you end up wearing your body down a whole bunch by doing that. So you really want to get that fixed, because if not, your blood pressure will start to elevate, you start to gain weight, and those sorts of things. But it's an easy fix.
Your thought on the dermatologist. And the reason I bring this up, I had gone 4 years without going. I went in last week, and she said, why has it been so long since you haven't been in? And I said, because every time I come in, you cut something off. And she proceeds to cut 6 different things off of me last week. And I don't want to jinx it because those have been sent off. And
see you in 4 years,
comes
LT.
back. But I'm just saying, it seems like they always cut something off. I mean, is it really that important to go every year to a dermatologist?
As you get older, yes, because you do have that happen more commonly. I wouldn't have fussed about you being 4 years if we didn't have any cancerous growths. It's something, though, that you ought to be keeping yourself checked and get your spouse to help look at spots on your back and that sort of thing and keep an eye on it. But, you know, what I tell people is, if you go to a surgeon, what does a surgeon want to do? Surgeon wants to operate.
Right.
You go see a dermatologist, well, that's what they get paid to do, is to remove things. And they are more sensitive to it. I look at a lot of things on folks. I'll tell you whether it needs to come off or not. and that sort of thing. But probably once you get in your mid to late 50s, you ought to be going annually. Now, the dermatologist will probably say it should start before then. As long as you're checking with your doctor and you're keeping yourself checked, you should be just fine.
One more on Twitter before we get out of here. Steven writes in and says, I work in an office of about 20 people, closed office. About half of them have a virus that's going around right now. What do I do to keep from getting it?
Wash your hands, drink lots of fluids, and take Geritol twice daily. No kidding about the Geritol. But no, you've got to use the waterless soap. You've got to get your sleep. You got to keep your work area wiped off with, these antibacterial wipes or whatever, and drink lots of fluids. If you'll do all that, you probably aren't going to get it. Now, there is, and everybody thought it was a virus. It's actually a bacteria going around because we're getting pus and all associated with it, but you're getting body aches, nausea, vomiting, and 2 or 3 days later you're getting the head drainage and the coughing and coughing up green stuff. So
and it's contagious, obviously.
Extremely contagious. From what I can tell, it's about a 5 to 6 day incubation period once you're exposed.
As a professional Walking Dead, how would you treat the people suffering right now in Cell Block D? Are you watching?
Oh, I'm not watching this year, but yeah, if I had them in there, I'd just napalm them.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
I think somebody
listen,
did.
Wow.
You know, when we couldn't fix it in I Am Legend, and couldn't get the cure, you got
Yeah.
That's the Doc on JOX with us.
For the record, that was a fictional show he's talking about. It's not what Doc really does if you're just tuning in.
Yes, let's don't make this like the War of the Worlds.
Yes.
The Doc on JOX with us every week. Right here, Dr. Mark Ricketts. If you'd like to make him your primary care physician, real easy to do.
Yeah, simple call, 822-0233. That is 822-0233. Conveniently located at the Vestavia City Center. Drop by, get a 2013 medical guide.
And 24 hours a day online.
You bet at markrickettsmd.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
All right, when we come back.